Well, thank you for joining us for our penultimate School of Communication and Journalism colloquium for the semester. Today, we're thrilled to be hosting our Colvin Fellows. So to help introduce the fellows and get the talk started, I'm going to turn the mic over to our fearless leader of the Colvin Center, Sarah Baxter.
Yay.
Thank you, Risa, for that introduction. And of course, I'm delighted to have Zuzana and Ali here with us today because and sharing what they've been researching here with you, and also some of their important work that they've been carrying on in their home countries. So as my colleagues will know, the Colvin Center is very proud to host visiting fellows. And we have two this year. One, Buchlan from Cambodia, otherwise known as Ali, and also Zuzana from Slovakia. And I couldn't be prouder to introduce them both. And they have very different projects, but both very fascinating and full of insight into what's going on in both Cambodia and Slovakia.
I will need help. Hello, everyone, online and also alive here. Okay, here we are. So thank you once again. I am Zuzana, I'm from Slovakia, and I will be speaking today about my community action plan, which is walking tour on active citizenship in my country once I'm back from USA. But I will also introduce something about my country corruption fight and journalistic landscape and my former expertise in my former work. So I'm coming from Slovakia, which is Central Europe. Sometimes I'm hearing in USA it's East Europe, so be careful. We are kind of sensitive to this. I was working as a volunteer within my university studies and even before, and meeting another volunteers from other countries. I was questioning myself how it will be to go to volunteer abroad myself. So I ended up in Romania, as you can see in the second picture. So back in Romania, I was placed in the volunteer center where I was teaching English to seniors, but I was also like working in a community management. And I learned how to hitchhike, how to cook finally for myself in the age of 27. I learned some Romanian and I were very fascinated observing what was happening that time in the country. It was 2011, 2012. There were protests going on, very strong grassroots initiatives. And one of the initiatives that sparked my interest was a map that was exposing places and officials and offices where bribes were asked. And this created like kind of powerful pushback, and the country moved a lot. When I'm coming back every year, the country is developing faster and better comparing, for example, to my country. So it's for me like a big open eye moment that year, which I build on later on. I will speak about it. Then I came back. I was working for a while in NGO sector as a scholarship advisor, and then I told myself, okay, I want to go for one more scholarship abroad, and that was a year in Indonesia. The third picture where you can see I was in school where it was mainly focused on crafts and arts, but there I also learned a lot about community building and another type of organizing for grassroots initiatives. So after the year I came back and I started to work for Transparency International Slovak chapter, which is like leading anti-corruption fight think tank all around the world in more than 100 countries. And Slovak chapter had just some years ago, it started in 1998. So a few years ago, it had like 25th anniversary. I was there. I was happy to celebrate. I was happy to party with everyone. My role for 7 years was like community manager and fundraiser, and my expertise was like in whistleblowing, national but also European level. We also had some common activities with some US partners like Government Accountability Project and some UK ones like Protect and other ones. So transparency itself as international movement started in 80s. There were like some first activities. And it started with a group of German people who were involved in humanitarian aid in Africa. And because of that time, the context was like a lot of money was invested, but a lot of money was also disappearing. and there was like big disbalance between what was put inside and what were outcomes. One of the identified reasons was corruption, which was a taboo topic, and it was like a common practice that you had in your accountancy special budget for bribing. So, as Germans are very efficient, they were not happy with the situation. And they decided to do something about it by founding the organization that would fight against the corruption. So this was like Peter Eigen, who was retired official from World Bank, plus 9 more people who founded a big think tank. And since then, the global movement is operating in more than 100 countries till now, including USA. So one of the flagship things transparency movement does is corruption perception index. You might hear about it. It's coming out every year in the end of January. All of the chapters are under informational embargo for several months. We know the results, but we can tell no one, neither my husband never knew, or what are the countries scoring. And it's evaluating more than 100 countries. Like methodology itself is kind of complicated, but it's combined certain independent data sources from various data sets. And it's interesting to see like what are the trends in the countries. So how are they moving? Important to have in the mind that it's always perceiving and evaluating the year ago. You don't have some like misinterpretation. So bad news. It's going worse and worse. There were some moments when it was better, but we are going back. I'm not happy to say so. As we are today in USA, just a short taste of it, how is it in the last years. You can interpret it like with like a lot of angles and perspectives. One of the important criteria is like how is the legislative and democracy institution weakened or strengthened? How is, for example, the business sector feeling about the transparency and public procurement and so on? We can speak about it later. I'm happy to answer. If you have any question aside of methodology, because me myself as a fundraiser and community manager, I'm not much analyst, but I'm happy to answer if it's in my competence. So what transparency movement does, and I was expertised in, it's whistleblowing, which is, I guess, really connected also to journalistic work, because whistleblowers are coming as sources of your information. And I was kind of excited to work also with like Slovak whistleblowers. Sometimes it's very rewarding, sometimes it's very frustrating, because you might work on a case yourself and then your source decides for any reason they are dropping it out for safety or whatever, so you are not then allowed to publish your weeks or months work, which was also one of my cases. But on the other hand, if it works perfectly, like it's published, you can create really powerful public push and change things. So transparency as a movement is publishing a lot of interesting and valuable guidelines, policies, recommendations, how to build up reporting mechanism inside the organization themselves, be it universities, business sector, academic, private one, whatever, but also like how to work with those who are blowing the whistle. And back to my country. This is 2 days ago. Sorry, I'm a little bit emotional.
It's lovely to see.
We are protesting again. There was a Velvet Revolution on the 17th November, 89. Here we are again.
Sorry to miss that.
Sort of. As you can see, this is one of the main squares in my capital, and it's full because there is a big division in the country and polarization, whether we are moving east or west, but this is very oversimplified.
If you had a picture from '89,
it's more or less similar, but
it would be the same thing, but people would be holding candles,
and
not
the
cell
keys,
phones.
and we were having keys, and we were making sound with keys. We wanted the country be opened. That was like a big metaphor. So we are back in the streets. We are protesting. This is happening for a long time, for various reasons. And it's, if you want to have Slovaks on the streets and in the squares, you really need to make them upset. They're kind of fatalistic and I would say passive. So things are kind of frustrating in our country for various reasons. We can speak about it also later, but there is like big distrust, disappointment from political elites. People are feeling like they are forgotten, their voice doesn't matter. The current administration, which was before in the force for 12 years, it's doing so-called consolidation while lavishly spending things and sources they are saying they are saving. So there is a big anger, and this also case like conflicts in families and relationships. We cannot agree on things like if we are pro-Russia or pro-Europe, if we are pro-vaccine or against that vaccine. I guess it's similar in USA, where these cultural wars are really dividing us and not doing any good. One of the when there was like the so-called without so-called revolution in 89, I was 4 years old, so I don't remember much, but I remember some feeling. And then, like, if there were any protests in Slovakia, not much people showed up until this happened. And this was assassination of one of our investigative journalists who was 27 years old in 2018, and his fiancée. They were shot in head in their home. And this also made people to come to streets. And the time there was so powerful pushback that prime minister stepped down and also the government, and we had premature elections. So I will show you once again the same square with people also like protesting that time. So this was 2018 daylight. This was 2 days ago. We are there again. So yeah, there are
The prime minister is the one who stepped
yes.
down.
A current prime minister is right now the same one that stepped down that time. So
Yeah.
stays a little bit like in USA, right?
Remind us of his
Yeah,
name.
it's
His name is Fico, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and there was also assassination on him, like it was here. So this also like is dividing country and polarizing it even more and more. But back to the work of transparency, and where are some like meeting points with journalistic work, as we are in the School of Journalism and Communication. Transparency, like Slovak chapter, as I mentioned, 25 years ago, founded. I will just showcase now some flagship initiatives that might be inspiring maybe also for USA. Hospital procurements was something that was also making people very angry, and that time they were also going in the street, not in such high numbers, but that time it was something notable because people can relate if you explain them that money wasted are also dealing there, for example, oncological care, or some machines that could help them, scanners, are not procurement and in their hospitals because those money were just wasted. So chapter was doing the investigation while our team was reached out by another journalist from the Daily Smates, one of the newsletters in Slovakia, who was doing the same case. And the forces were joined, and we came up, we revealed what was the founding, who was responsible, how much money was like wasted and stolen. And this pushback created a change because apart from national scandal, several senior officials in those hospitals and even at the Ministry of Healthcare, they had to step down. So there was some sort of like responsibility taken for what happened. And this investigation was awarded by Slovak Journalist Award. What is my personally one of favorite things Transparency Slovak chapter does is Open Courts portal. In early 2010s, we had one really very simple law that pushed the public control in a way anyone can do it. And it is like, if anyone is doing a business with the government and like public money, the contract has to be published. And if it's not published, it's not valid. So all the data are online, but you need the time and you need the minds to analyze them. So one of the tools to help it is like Open Courts portal, which is publishing all the court judgments in one place, but also it's evaluating performance of judges with various metrics. And it's following court proceedings, analyzing what is the selection process of judges and so. And what was one of the most favorite outcomes of this analysis is a map of family ties in courts. So at some point in Slovakia, every fourth judge had a relative in the same or another court, which you can then speak about nepotism and the justice system if something like this pop up. Things change. It's not so concentrated anymore. but it needed to be revealed this way, like really analyzed and visualized in a map that showed like something is not correct. I will jump now to mapping and how I moved somewhere else. I was working for transparency in these various initiatives and projects for 7 years. And they say, you know, in 7 years, be it marriage, be it job, you break it or you take it. So I broke it. And I went to sabbatical, which was starting last year. And within that, I applied and came for this fellowship, and I came to USA. And I said, like, I don't want to leave like anti-corruption fight completely, but I want to fight it in the way that will be less frustrating for me, taking less toll on me, so something softer. And I developed the idea that I will create a walking tour, which will be still about the awareness about the anti-corruption fight, but will also suit and calm people down. So how better can you calm yourself down than petting some pets, some furry friends? And I all the time have myself, dogs around myself. And with the dog, you have to walk. And if you walk, you are also putting some steam out. So I came with the idea that I will create walking tour for those who are from watchdog organizations like Transparency, together with those who are really walking dogs or doing any business for dogs and dogs owners. And I did some mapping here in USA. It was about like services for dogs, but also like any activism, grassroots initiatives, public control initiatives like public hearings at the municipality of Port Jefferson, but also union meetings at the university, academic senate meeting, and so on. I was in tours, various ones. This is like, I have a series of pictures, if you know the Minel train station, because this really stuck my attention all the time. I'm stopping there and I cannot get a clear picture because it's moving always, or I'm standing in some strange wagon. And I also, as you can see, I was taking classes in the university, and I will speak about like what struck my attention in those classes and what I will work on later when being back home. So of course, because I'm creating a walking tour, I took walking tours, and also here at the university, like university itself has like a walking tour for those interested to study here. So I was walking twice with those, feeling a little bit weird, but I understood how those guys were recruited, how they were building up what they will show, what is the length of it, which languages are presented, and so on. They were also like furry friends at the university ground here in the library. You could pet them, so I did. It was nice. This was one tour when this was like homecoming. I don't know if you used, like, there was this karaoke taxi, so you could get a ride, and I could see the campus also from a different point of view, but I had to pay. And because it was karaoke taxi, I had to sing, so I chose Tina Turner, You Simply the Best. And it worked, yeah. And for me, it was also interesting to learn more about how volunteering is functioning in USA. So I met a person responsible for management of volunteers in New York City Public Library in this building. It's a German name, and I don't speak German, but the building where there are two lions, very famous one, nearby Bryant Park. And just this Monday, we had the meeting there, and things that I wanted to take home. It's like to managing volunteers like a puzzle. I was volunteering myself, and I was managing the team of volunteers back home. But here it's like really different approach and perspective. Like I like the more focus on volunteers as possible political activists and fundraisers themselves. Like in library, they used to write letters to city and state officials, but we were told like one, it reached like 40,000. Mayor told like, please maybe skip 2 emails. Like this is really a lot of letters, and we will listen. So I like this way how you can create the push as a volunteer team. They were setting up tables for petitions, for more funding for libraries, attending community boards with official, also advocating for the libraries as spaces of community place, not only where the books are lying. So for me, this was like very inspirational meeting. And also thinking about the volunteers as the guides, potentially themselves in the tool I'm creating myself. And I am creating it in a sense like I will set up some frames, but I want that tour to be participatory one, like designing the process of creating it with a group of volunteers that will become guides themselves. And they will like educate themselves, but they will also spread awareness, and it will be like multiplication effect, which I hope for. So one of the tours I came for was like in the Grand Central Terminal, and this is a volunteer, lovely sir, gentleman in the American Museum of Natural History. He's doing this for his last 20 years, and I guess he's almost 90, and it was very interesting with him. I went also in North Carolina, and it was like completely different approach of walking around with the local activists from Afro-American community. And I met their dear friend of mine, Slovak, who is married here. And as we were speaking about the walking as something which is therapeutical one, she recommended me this book, like it's in Czech language, but translation will be Therapy Among the Trees, how walking in nature can help you to soothe you and make you less stressed, which I'm hoping this will be one of the effects of the walking tours. So to wrap it up, I tried a lot of things. I attended a lot of events. Sarah is telling I was all over around, sort of, yeah. But I didn't want to be like experienced hoarder. I wanted to have something more of it. And as they say, like, it is not important how much you read your books, but how much books you read again. And those books you read again are important. What I would do again, or where I went 2 times or more times. So of course, New York City Public Library, and I took even workshops how to research at the map divisions, trying their like my capital, what are the sources, and they are, and interesting. So it was like very interesting to see my country from the lens of America. I had this meeting about volunteering. I had the walking tours there as well with volunteers. The interesting place which I love and I would like to go again and again and again, it's a museum of New York City. They have a specific exhibition there which is focused on activism from various perspectives, be it like liberation of women, healthcare activism, housing crisis activism, you name it, they have it. And then another one which Sarah pointed to me when I came was like Museum of Reclaimed Urban Space. I went there recently for their exhibition and I'm planning to go for their urban radical walking tour in the upcoming days, weekend, which are remaining till I leave back. And there is Tenement Museum. I went there twice to see like how migration was shaping this city. And Big Onion, walking tours, which is like a funny game for a Big Apple city, as they have like really curated with PhD volunteers walking tours focusing on different topics. I took one about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, the old punker in me. And also one more, which was about migration as well and policies. So speaking about what I learned at the classes here and what I'm taking home, it's like this photography. It was presented in both classes of both Jonathan professors, Sanders and Anzalon. All of us, we heard about this photo from Vietnam in '63. And how it's changed the history and journalism and what move in society it created. 6 years later, something like this happened also in Czechoslovakia. At the time, Jan Palach also self-immunizated himself. And then I was thinking, he was not the only one. And I started to dig, like, okay, was there somebody also in Slovakia? Because this happened in Prague, in the Czech part of Czechoslovakia. And I couldn't find anyone, but I found the information that there was 27 people following his example, but only like 3 to 4 persons are known, and one of them it's like in east part of Slovakia. So I was thinking this will be interesting part of my walking tour because it's forgotten. It was for different reasons suppressed by communistic regime because for the funeral of Jan Palach, 200,000 people appeared, and they were afraid that this will start another revolution and maybe civil war in Slovakia against Soviet occupation. So any information, another case that happened and these so-called living torches were self-immolating themselves, it was like very suppressed to inform about it, or they were pointing them as a psychiatrical patients. So I want to dig more about it and see what is connected to our capital and include it in the walking tour I'm hoping to create once I'm back in the participatory design process with volunteers. So what is ahead of me? After weekend, I'm meeting the boss who created the Big Onion walking tours in New York City, and we will speak about like what he can recommend to me and what I can take more from his design process back home, because he's designing it in the similar way I'm hoping for. And because as I hope to learn more about these 27 people. While being here, I applied for the scholarship in Budapest for Open Society Archives to understand more like what was happening with these 27 people. And I'm at the point where my application was accepted and the result should be next month. So if it works, like in March, I will have 2 months to dig in that. And then I hope the first walking tour will be carried out in the June next year. So as we are in the School of Communication, there are students, teachers, whoever are interested to do something I did or my movement, Transparency did. I would like to point to your attention to the opportunity of either internship or summer school, not only for students. And Transparency International every year organize a summer school of integrity in Lithuania, another European central country, where anyone can come. You can some employers are giving this as benefits to their employees. Some schools are giving also scholarships for students to go and attend. And as I mentioned, there is a Transparency chapter in USA, so I'm in touch with their staff. I met them in Washington, and I will meet them before I go back to Slovakia as well. And when I was asking, do you have interest? Can students come and do internship? They said yes, we have. But we already closed the open call, which was recent, but we are strongly recommending and encouraging anyone interested to work in like this sort of think tank with data analysis to check our webpage, which is here, and you can be part of the team as an intern. So all of this wouldn't be possible without a lot of people. So thank you to all of you. And I couldn't decide how to organize it, so it's in alphabetical order because that doesn't put any importance on anyone. I'm thanking everyone equally. All of you contributed in a really special way. Be it advice, be it listening to me, be it connecting me with someone, be it meeting me and introducing me to something I was not even thinking about. So thank you to all of you. And if you want to stay in touch or learn more of anything what I was mentioning, here are my contact details. Happy to answer anything that comes in your mind.
Thank you so much, Zuzana. Your project, that sounds fascinating. And it's great that it was inspired by one of your classes.
There is in Germany and in Amsterdam and in Denmark a movement where they take and they are actually putting little bricks. Yeah, where people were deported.
Yeah, we have it also in Slovakia. It's all around Europe.
That's an important thing to show, but there's a new movement in Moscow where they are putting little aluminum and stainless steel plates at the houses of people who were repressed, who were dragged off to the gulag. And sometimes what's amazing is there will be a plaque for somebody who is dragged out of their house in 1937, and just down the way on the same building, they'll have somebody who was assassinated by Putin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, that brings me to a question that I had anyway for you, Zuzana, which is how much on your walking tour are you going to look at this sort of Soviet past, and how much is the impact, the presentation and the places that you visit, how much are they going to be connected with what's been going on more recently?
I would like to have some portion of that, definitely, but as I am intending this to have as a participatory design process by volunteer, I will set up frames and they will create content according agreement of the group. But my idea is to have like some ratio, let's say 30% about Soviet times and 70% about current or after the Velvet Revolution, because it is connected anyway. Like,
yeah,
we can see the roots of corruptions also in those times, and these Jan Palach things also.
yes,
I think it really needs to be came back to our attention, brought back.
Of course, it would be nice to have a plaque for the most corrupt person in Bratislava in 1990, and then again last year, and see if it's a cousin, a daughter, saying,
Yeah, like we don't waste money for blocks. We prefer to use it for something else, but I can think about some virtual diploma for sure.
Yes. Good, yeah. So, and tell us more about the dogs. Do you have to have a dog to come on?
The dogs.
Can we borrow one?
Can we borrow somebody else's?
You
So-
wanna come walk Kodak?
Yeah.
The thing,
Yes, for
one
sure.
of the stakeholder organization I have already approached to and I'm communicating with is City Library in Bratislava, which has a special department for people with blindness or impairment of sight, and they have a guiding dogs. And these dogs, they agreed that the dogs can be brought in the library. Here in USA, I have seen like dogs that are kind of part of libraries anyway. So the dogs which are guiding the blind people or being trained to do so are already being told that something is going to happen to them in following months.
You've got all sorts of people who are not interested in corruption or think they're not
Yeah.
interested, who just want to walk dogs. If you can supply the dogs, they can come along and then learn amazing.
Yeah, I'm also one friend of mine, like good friend of mine, who will be for sure. He was a volunteer, and he still is in this Transparency International Slovakia. He has a dog himself, and he's going with the dog to trainings with a specialized trainer. So there is also like a nursery also here in USA. So those people they are walking dogs anyway, and they are for sure doing walks, walking nearby places or significant landmarks which are connected to history of democracy in my country or anti-corruption fight or grassroots initiatives. So this will just, I hope this will just connect and create synergy. Radu, yeah?
Yeah, so I have a question. So this seems like a soft approach to raising awareness.
Yeah.
Corruption. Are you in any way worried that this is going to be in some ways controversial, especially since you are addressing contemporary issues? You know, one man's corrupt politician is another man's nation savior.
I see like Eastern Central European speaking, yes. Yes, and the 7 years I was used to controversial things, so this sabbatical hopefully helped me to gain some strength back to deal with it. But that's why I'm hoping that this participatory process will help to, we can agree at least on some cases that are like, for sure, like this is corruption and this is bad and this is breaking rule of law. And other things we can discuss. And I'm super fine with this. If we don't agree, we at least open the topic with people who are never speaking about this. And I'm fine with the result like such, because it's the first step. And I don't hope for like some outstanding wow effects after the walks. I see this as like just a first poke, which will maybe later lead to something else, like behavioral change or whatever. Yeah.
I love dogs and I love democracy and anti-corruption things, but I've never linked them together. I feel like I should fly in especially.
Do a story on it.
Yeah, come and hang out with pups and help to get some democracy and anti-corruption stuff.
Okay, I don't know if somebody online has a question, because I invited like a lot of my friends and supporters, so maybe if somebody is writing.
Go to the Zoom.
Okay.
There is no question.
Okay, so I was probably exhaustive.
I think you were very good. I'd like to, I mean, one thing that I'm really pleased about is how much that Ali, you know, got from being at Stony Brook for her news literacy workshops and programs. So thank you, Howie, and others for that. And I'm pleased that you were inspired by Jonathan, the two Jonathans, to develop your project. So, I mean, I found this to be an incredibly good program for the Marie Colvin Center. And the sad news is that Ali and Zuzana might be our last visiting fellows because of cuts to USAID. So that's a bit grim. I think as well, the Colvin Center will continue to invite foreign scholars. I just think we might not be able to invite them for 4 months at a stretch. or, you know, so it might be more for a month or, you know, something like that. So we are going to have to tighten our belts a bit. It's also very difficult now to get anybody here on a visa. The great advantage of the program that Ali and Zuzana have been on is that because it had close connections to the State Department. Thank you, Ali and Zuzana, because I think your presence here has shown how important it is to have these exchanges of
We
information
loved having
and
you.
people. We really have loved having you. So thank you so much.